What is going on, you guys? Welcome back. We have another Fuel Friday episode with my good friend Dr. Harrison. Fuel Friday is really special because we break down a topic that we feel like will benefit you in building your happiest, healthiest life, and we break that topic down in 15 minutes or less.
Or less, or less.
Already
There we
got
are.
the clock going. Dr. Harrison, what's the topic today?
The topic is cholesterol, and we didn't quite label it, but cholesterol is it good, bad, ugly? How do we lower it? What should we pay attention to? I
Yeah,
guess there's
100%.
there's a story.
And I wanted to do things a little different today. So I actually went and did some Google searches, some quick Google searches, just kind of see like what is the general population saying when we talk about cholesterol and things like that. So we can identify what cholesterol is and say, hey, are these things that the Google is telling us, is it true, not true, all that stuff. So I guess first we have to define what cholesterol is. And again, that first Google search is what is cholesterol? It's saying that cholesterol is a type of fat, right? So is cholesterol fat or is fat cholesterol? Does it work both ways? Is it a type of fat? Dr. Harrison, I'll let you kind of break this down. I feel like you would use your words so much better than me.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, cholesterol is it's been demonized. We'll just put it that way. There was a
Mhm.
back history, if anybody's old enough, there, well, still, I guess there's a war on fat. There was fat free everything at one time, and it was labeled as it was going to make us thin. It was going to reduce cholesterol, and all of our health problems are going to disappear. And then now we see the markets have changed, right? We don't go to the store and see everything is fat free. Now we're being a little more selective with fat, trans fat, etc. So, what is cholesterol? Cholesterol is simply a building block of life. Without cholesterol, we can't build cell membranes. Without cholesterol, we can't build hormones. So it is absolutely critical for life. So we have to be more specific, and I don't want to go too far in it, but we have to be more specific in the type of cholesterols, the good, the bad, the ugly, and in the in between. So that is cholesterol. It can come. Part of it comes from dietary production, dietary fats. I would say all of it comes from a dietary source of some kind, and most of it is coming from animal protein and animal fat, which has been demonized as saturated fat by some communities. So, I guess high level, do you think that answered the question?
Yeah, I think so. And so there's these different types of cholesterol, right? There's the HDL and LDL cholesterol,
Mhm.
and the LDL cholesterol would be demonized as the bad cholesterol. But if I'm correct here, it's not that so much that LDL is bad and HDL is good. It's the ratio in which we want these two things. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for sure. There's my patients remember it. They say HDL is happy cholesterol and LDL is lousy cholesterol, right? And we
Hmm.
try to wrap our heads around it because that's what their medical doctors will tell them. This is bad and this is good. But you're right, the ratio and the particle size play a big role in is the LDL oxidized or non-oxidized. So our body can make transitions of these cholesterols into different variants. And then there's other ones, right? So LDL and HDL are the ones we're aware of that, pop culture, but then there's other ones. There's VLDL, there's different sizes of HDL. And in general, HDL is a cleaning cholesterol. And then the other one that few people are aware of, LDL, the bad cholesterol, is actually a fixing cholesterol. It's not the demon. But in some individuals, now I'm watching my words on this one, in some individuals, higher LDL can increase risk of cardiovascular disease. And that's the thing we think of with cholesterol is heart health.
Hmm.
And that is BS because 50% of everybody who have perfect cholesterol, or sorry, 50% of everyone who has a heart attack and a stroke has perfect cholesterol.
Wow.
50%. So it's a horrible metric to say, Mrs. Smith, you have high cholesterol, you have heart risk, and we're going to have to put you on a bunch of drugs.
Mm.
50%.
So
So,
with that being said, because that's where in my field, right? That's what I hear all the time, right? If we have these things, it's heart disease, heart risk, heart attack, all these different things. So what are the issues of having this high cholesterol, this high LDL that you see, that it's not just this 50-50 kind of thing?
so what are the issues? What else to look for? Is that the
Hmm.
question?
So if
Um,
so you said it's 50-50 as far as a heart attack or heart disease, right? Is there other things to be worried about?
Other metrics, other things to
Yes.
pay attention to. Yeah, it you can the best thing to do, the absolute best thing to do is to identify and test with a CT exam, so just a picture of your heart, where you look and see if calcium is being deposited in your coronary arteries. Calcium, if there's calcium in your coronary arteries, you know there's plaque. And plaque can't be identified on an image, a picture. It can't. So they have
Hmm.
to go exploration and go and go with a camera and dye and actually see how much blockage to a coronary artery. If a coronary artery blocks, you stop heart, you stop blood to that part of the heart muscle. That's your heart attack in most cases. So just because someone can have, like me, I personally have high cholesterol and I'm watching it and doing what I can, but my cholesterol is high. I have a lot of terrible family history. So that also
Hmm.
puts me in a risk factor. I'm not so much worried about the cholesterol, but the best thing to tell, I have a picture of my heart and it's perfect. Zero calcium, so there's zero plaque.
Yeah.
So the calcium score test is the best indicator, regardless of what cholesterol levels you have in your body.
So this is really interesting. What you're saying, and I want to make sure that I'm clear and the audience is clear here, is that just because you have high cholesterol, it's when we say high, it's high in comparative to what the normal ranges are, and doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing comparative to what it's doing on the inside. Is that
Right.
accurate?
It's exactly right. If you eat a lot of animal protein, like many of my patients do, or I'll advise them to do if it fits right for their genetics and their calcium score test, many of them their cholesterol can go up by 30%.
Wow.
Dietary fat, not all of them. Some people can just have animal fat or plant fat and their cholesterol goes up by 25%. And this is maybe 5 years ago where the American Heart Association demonized coconut oil and said it could give you a heart attack.
Hmm.
It's amazing. Do you remember
Well,
that?
I don't remember the coconut oil, but I do remember when I was growing up, it was eggs. The yolk of eggs was like, oh, it was the villain. You can't have egg
Yeah,
yolks, and
yeah,
and now
yeah.
they've gone back on that as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's just so interesting because there's people personally that I know, and they're go to the doctor and they're working out, they're eating healthy, they're losing body fat, they're feeling great, and then all of a sudden their cholesterol's really high, and they're like, oh my God, this is so bad. But this is revolutionary to me too to hear this is that it
Mhm.
just because it's high doesn't mean it's necessarily bad depending on what it's doing inside of our bodies, which I think is
Exactly right.
amazing.
And the best way to know that, the only way to know that is a calcium score test. That's the only way to know it. And there's even
Yeah.
a documentary on the calcium score test. It's still, well, as of this today, it's still free on YouTube and it's called The Widowmaker. It's an hour or 2 hours long. And it
Okay.
is unbelievable documentary. At one time, all presidents of the United States candidates were required to do the calcium score test because it's so critical.
Wow.
What we do instead is we wait for a coronary artery to be blocked, then we have a heart attack. And if we make it to emergency for the emergency procedure of a stent, um, then then we if medical intervention. If someone has
Yeah.
perfect cholesterol, like my dad, I'm actually working on a course and I'm using him as an example. His cholesterol is perfect. He looks like the picture of health. He's 73 now, and if it wasn't for that calcium score test, as of 4 years ago, when we first did it, he wouldn't be around today.
Yeah. Wow. And so this is again because you said that the cholesterol, people who have heart attacks, only 50-50, right?
Uh-huh.
Depending, which means you could have good, quote unquote, good cholesterol and things could be going very poorly
Very
for you
bad.
if you're not.
My
Wow.
father or his friend that just passed, similar age, just passed, similar lifestyle, just passed a year ago, not even a year ago, 6 months ago, and he got a clean bill of health from his doctor because his cholesterol was normal and his stress test was normal, and EKG, which is an EKG, was normal. And what happened? He died. It was only a few days later
Wow.
from a heart attack. Yeah.
That blows my mind, right? Like these are things. This is why I love talking to you, Dr. Harrison, and bringing this to the world because these are things that I didn't even realize
Mhm.
as far as these metrics. So, getting into cholesterol, I had one more Google search that I did, and I was just pulling it
Mhm.
up. It's that I was asking about like, just this cholesterol being a lipid or a type of lipid, a type of fat and stuff. And it
Mhm.
said cholesterol is a type of lipid, just as fats are, but it comes from meat, chicken, fish, eggs, organ meats, all these other
Mhm.
things.
Or
But it says
coconut oil.
or coconut oil. But it says, however, unlike fat, cholesterol can't be exercised off.
That's right.
So sweat it out or burn out for energy because of the roles it plays. It's not being stored as like fat. It's the plaque buildup in our arteries and veins being used for hormones for the phospholipid bilayer in our cells
Mhm.
and building those things up. So is that true? Not true?
That's 100% accurate. And I would say that the plaque, you have high cholesterol, but it doesn't mean you have plaque in your arteries.
Okay.
Yeah,
So my question for you is that if we can't burn this off, is there a correlation with having healthy cholesterol and exercise?
always, always. So that happy cholesterol, the people who have the best high HDL cleaning, remember HDL is happy, but it's a cleaning cholesterol. And
Mhm.
it's seen high levels of HDL is seen with cardiovascular longevity. The people who have the highest HDL on the planet are cultures that eat a lot of high quality cooking oils. However, so
Ah,
think of that. Their total cholesterol is through the roof. They look like they're, according to American Medical Association, they're a walking time bomb. But the vast majority of their total cholesterol is all HDL. And it's because they're like it's the Greeks and the Italians. They're pretty well bathing in olive oil, right? This is
mhm.
as a child, they don't have canola oil. Canola oil, well, maybe they do now. I don't know, but very little canola oil will kill you. And we call
Mm,
that vegetable oil. It's such BS that if you look at the label on a go to the store for fun and look at canola oil, and anybody list look at canola oil, and you'll see if you see vegetable pictures, look at the fine print. You're going to say the images don't represent the contents. They call it vegetable oil. It's BS. It's canola oil, and it will kill you. It's not designed for human consumption.
yeah. So that kind of gets me to the next question is to avoid having this bad cholesterol, specifically with high cholesterol. I hear a lot about, we got to cut out red meats, but you had just mentioned earlier that you want people to eat animal meats, which I recommend it all the time as well.
Depending on their genetics and their makeup and
Of
cardiovascular risk
course.
and all that.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
of course. So the big thing that I hear, because you had mentioned coconut oil, I had mentioned egg yolks, which were past things that people said. And now I
Yeah.
think the big thing that, again, with these Google searches is cutting out red meat.
Mhm.
Do you think, is that something that people should do, shouldn't do?
Good.
Does it
Perfect question.
matter?
So if someone now I get a little technical on this because
Okay.
I don't like to say do or don't because red meat, animal protein is a critical component to brain health, metabolic function, etc. The best way to know if your body is contributing to negative cardiovascular health due to animal protein is to do a test called TMAO.
Okay.
TMAO is really a bacterial marker in the GI tract and it's a blood test, which is interesting. And if you have high TMAO, you probably your body is not going to like animal protein, meaning you like it, but it can contribute to cardiovascular inflammation, TMAO. And
Okay.
again, I'm speaking from a representation of how I do work and how I understand, and it's
Of
labs and
course.
understanding these things. But I would never say for the vast population, avoid animal protein, eggs, and all this stuff just
Mhm.
because it's going to kill you. That is BS. Back to the
Yeah.
Italians and the Greeks. They don't have these crazy rules. They have great high quality cooking oil,
Mhm.
plant fats. And then so to answer your previous question, how do people get their high HDL up or HDL high? High quality plant fats and even animal fats, but high quality fats and physical activity. Those are the highest levels of HDL on the planet. So
Oh,
physical activity plays a critical role in HDL, and I'll see the metrics change all the time if they're doing what they need to do.
yeah. I,
You know,
I think this was so good. And we're coming up on 90 seconds. I think this was so good because I think that, again, it's broken down so many walls as far as, oh, I have high cholesterol, things are bad. Not necessarily. There's these other
yeah.
markers that you should be looking at and checking for. And then should we be doing to get these things in check to know if we're at these health risks? And you said what was it? The test, the
Uh,
blood test? HM,
TMAO. TMAO
TMAO.
will be
And
the best metric to know if animal fat is a concern for you.
and I want to leave everybody here with something tactical to do if they want to do that. Is that something that, like, I know I would assume you do, but can they
Yep.
just go to their regular practitioner, their
Highly
doctor
unlikely.
online?
Yeah,
Okay.
highly unlikely. So the two tests if someone's concerned about cardiovascular health is one and diet. A TMAO test is great. That's not a standard test. You can fight for it. Insurance makes the rules, it's not the doctor. So don't beat up your doctor if they don't order it. They have to sell it to insurance. Really, that's what it is. And
Mm,
then the other one is a calcium score test, which is called a calcium coronary artery test. I have videos on my channel all over on this test. I order 3 a week, at least 3 a week for my
wow.
patients. And it's well, right at the time of this, it's relatively cheap. A good test is only like $350 and it will save your life. I recommend any female over the age of 50 to do this test.
Wow.
20 minutes, you're in and out. It's not invasive. And I recommend any male over the age of 40 now because right now, and I'm working on a cardiovascular course I'm producing. It's gonna be like a 1-month course, and I'm hoping to initially send it out for free. But anyway, it's gonna talk all about this and more.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like this should have been an hour-long thing because I still have
Yeah.
so many questions, but you guys, we do this in 15 minutes or less. I have just one last question for you, Dr. Hudson. We can do this really quick. If somebody gets that test, they get the picture of their heart, and you said it's
Mhm.
non-invasive and stuff. Is that something that when their doctor looks at this, is that something that, because again, we talk about cholesterol and how the medical industry looks at these things. It's like, oh, it's bad or this or that. And you're saying
Mhm.
it's not always that way.
Not at
Would their
all.
doctor normally be able to look at these photos or their heart and things like that and give them a good indication if they're on
They
the right path? Or should they seek
they
somebody out like yourself or
well, they can go to their medical doctor, but what the
Mhm.
medical doctor is going to do, hopefully the medical doctor knows their story and they have a relationship and everything is good. What their medical doctor is going to do if there's calcium, they're going to say, "Watch your diet and get some exercise." There it is. And then the second thing they're going to say is if it's high, you should be on a cholesterol lowering medication. But the cholesterol lowering medication, I'm a fan of it in some regards, and I'm not the pharmaceutical doctor. So disclaimer here. I'm not educated to get drug advice, but all you got to do is a quick search on side effects of it, and you will increase your risk of dementia by like I believe it's 80% with a
wow.
statin medication. And the second thing that you'll do is you increase your risk of prediabetes and diabetes. Statin companies like Lipitor spend out tens of millions of dollars every year in legal liability for causing diabetes in their patients. So you're trying to bring down
Wow.
cholesterol and you end up with diabetes. So
Oh,
be
deal.
cautious with it, but those would be that's the advice your medical doctor is going to give because that's their world. My advice is going to be different. Let's do
Yeah.
XYZ elemental P and retest and see it change. So,
Yeah,
um,
100%. Well, Dr. Harrison, I appreciate you being here. You guys, again, I feel like there's so much information here. We might need to do a part two to this. So please don't forget to
maybe.
share the episode because you might
And if
just,
there is
uh,
questions about this and somebody wants to go deeper into this, maybe
oh,
we'll do a part two.
I was just gonna hit that up. You guys share the episode because you might just change, and I might even say save somebody's life with the information that
Hmm.
we've gone in this episode and all the stuff, contacting Dr. Harrison, because I know that this is a lot of people might be struggling with this. And if you want to get in contact with him to talk about these kinds of things, I'll have his contact info, whether you're listening to this on podcast or YouTube, go into the description. You can find all of his info there as
All
well.
right,
So
we're over, and you got to go. You
you
got to
are,
run
I
now.
do. All right, man. I appreciate you. We'll chat soon. Later, friends.
Sounds good. Bye bye.